World Cup is returning to Asia after 20 years. At the last World Cup hosted by Asia, Brazil lifted its fifth World Cup trophy, and some European giants had looked shaky, most notably France, which was eliminated in the first round as defending champions. This time again, France are defending champions, and again European teams including France are looking shaky, and Brazil along with Argentina are among the hot favourites. Here we preview all the countries participating in the World Cup, starting with the Asian teams. To make things more interesting, the Asian contingent at the World Cup is stronger than in the past editions. Out of the 6 Asian teams which are competing this year, including the host Qatar, 3 are in the top 30 in the FIFA World Rankings. In 2018, none of the 5 Asian teams were in the top 30, and in 2014, none of the 4 Asian teams were even in the top 40. So that is definitely something that's interesting. But that being said, the Asian teams would do well to qualify from their groups. It's not going to be easy for any of them. Iran is the highest ranked Asian team at number 20, but Iran is in a group with England, USA and Wales. So, looking at the form of the teams in that group, you could argue that Iran has a good chance, or among the Asian teams, at least Iran has the best chance of getting through that group. South Korea is arguably the strongest team on paper. They have, of course, Heung-min Son, and also a very reliable centre back in Napoli's Kim Min-jae. However, Son recently suffered an injury. He will be fit in time for the World Cup, but the fact that he missed a few days of training could have an impact on his overall match fitness. But I expect South Korea to challenge the other teams in its group, which is Portugal, Uruguay and Ghana. Even if South Korea does not make it out of the group, I think South Korea will put on a strong performance. On paper, Qatar does not really seem to have a chance, but we have learned from past World Cups that you cannot really rule out the host country. But then, it would be a big surprise if Qatar manages to make it to the next round. I think Qatar's best chance of a win or a result is against Ecuador, which is the opening match of the World Cup. So, if Qatar does not get a result in that match, I think the home team's chances are pretty much over. Saudi Arabia's situation is similar. It is in a group with Argentina, Poland and Mexico. So again, you would not expect Saudi Arabia to be able to get out of the group, but they can have an impact on who makes it out of the group. If they manage to hold one of the better teams to a draw, that could make the group interesting. Saudi Arabia and Qatar are, largely seen as being there to make up the numbers, but in Asia, if they're able to put up a strong performance, they could yet have an impact on who makes it out of the group. Then we come to Japan, which is an interesting proposition. In the last World Cup, Japan took Belgium all the way to the end, and they only lost out because of a counter-attack goal at the last minute. So it was a heartbreaking exit for the Japanese team at the last World Cup. This World Cup again, Japan is in a very tough group with Germany and Spain. So you wouldn't really expect Japan to make it out of the group. The other team is also a pretty tough team to play against in Costa Rica. So Japan's chances, to be honest, looks pretty bleak. However, Spain and Germany are both missing experienced strikers. So if the Japanese team is able to defend against them, and the stronger teams are not able to score, then Japan may be able to get a couple of draws or even a surprise win. So you can never rule out Japan, but it's going to be very tough for the team. Coming to the last Asian team, which is Australia, which is a member of the Asian Football Confederation, would be more accurate. Australia is in the same group as France and Denmark. In the 2018 World Cup also, Australia was in the same group as France and Denmark. And however, they did quite well in 2018 because France needed an own goal and a penalty to beat Australia. So it's not going to be easy, but I think again, you won't really expect Australia to get qualify from their group when France and Denmark are there. So if they can get a draw, I think that will make the group very interesting. So overall, I think on paper, South Korea has two really good players, but Iran may have the best chance of, among the Asian teams, Iran may have the best chance of qualifying from the group. Coming next to Africa, there are big names missing in Nigeria and of course Mohamed Salah's Egypt. But the teams which are qualified are good enough to be competitive. The highest ranked African team is the African champions Senegal, which led by Sadio Mane. But unfortunately, Sadio Mane has suffered an injury recently. But he is part of the squad and he is expected to be fit enough to play even at least in the second or third match. But that is going to be a major blow for Senegal if they are missing Mane. But they have Chelsea goalkeeper Mendy and also fellow club teammate Koulibaly. So they have a pretty decent squad. So Senegal would have been a lot of people's pick for a dark horse in this tournament. No African team has gone past the quarter-final stage. There are football experts who have predicted that Senegal could go all the way to the semi-final. But if Mane is not firing on all cylinders, that is not likely to happen. But you would still expect Senegal to get out of the group along with the Netherlands. Then coming to the next African team, we have Morocco, which is the second highest ranked African team. And Morocco is in a group with Belgium, Canada and Croatia. So even though Belgium is the strongest team on paper, Belgium's form has not been great recently. So you would expect Croatia to be a tougher challenge based on the current form. And Canada, of course, is a very difficult team to play against. So you wouldn't really fancy Morocco going through, but they are definitely capable of it. So I think these two African teams are definitely capable of, Senegal you would expect to go through, and Morocco is capable of causing a surprise in Group F. Then you have Cameroon and Tunisia. Tunisia perhaps unexpectedly has a lot of flair players, good dribblers and all, but it seems like the balance is not great. So Tunisia and Cameroon are both capable of challenging other teams, but again you wouldn't expect them to go through into the second round. Then we come to the lowest ranked team at the World Cup, which is Ghana, perhaps surprisingly. But Ghana, again, if you look at the players, they have a lot of strong players, a lot of players who are playing in Europe. Prominent among them is, of course, Inaki Williams. He will be playing for Ghana alongside Tariq Lamptey, who plays for Brighton in the Premier League. So I think with the addition of these players, Ghana has become stronger. But again, they are in what is being called as the group of death with Portugal, Uruguay and South Korea. So Ghana, you can say they can definitely make things interesting. But based on recent form, you would not expect Ghana to get out of the group, especially the group with Portugal, Uruguay and South Korea in it. The qualification campaign from North and Central America and the Caribbean was pretty interesting this time, because Canada unexpectedly finished top of the qualification. Canada, of course, has Alphonso Davies, who is used in a freer attacking role for the national team. But the team's game will be dependent on the three centre backs and two holding midfielders. So the team prefers to build off the base provided by this defensive axis. And I think they have fast players in Davies and also other players in forward positions. So they should be able to hit teams on counter attack. But whether they manage to score goals on the world's biggest stage, that will define. If they are able to score a goal early on in a match, like catch a team on the break and score a goal, then they may be able to defend. It will be a great experience for Canada before hosting or co-hosting the next edition of the World Cup. Coach John Herdman has said that he expects the team to qualify for the next next round. But against teams like Belgium and Croatia, and of course a strong Morocco team, you wouldn't expect that to happen. Then of course you have the US team, who everybody expects to, almost every World Cup people expect US to be the dark horses, but they never quite do that. This time again they have a strong team, a lot of players playing in the top European teams. But again it's going to be a very challenging group, because after England you expect to qualify, and like we mentioned earlier, Iran could be a surprise in that group. So you have Wales, US and Iran, all three competing for a second spot. And the funny thing is, all of them on their day could trouble England too. So a very interesting group, Group B. So US it will be very tight. So I think most people, the smart money would be on England and US qualifying, but it's a very tough group to call, because Wales and Iran are equally capable of getting through that group. So Group B will definitely be a very interesting watch. At the same time, the football is likely to be pretty boring, but who gets out of the group will be interesting to observe in that group. Then of course you have Mexico, which is ranked 13th in the world. Always a team which you cannot ignore, with exciting players. But Mexico has this incredible record of 7 consecutive round of 16 appearances in the World Cup, and they wouldn't take not being in the round of 16 in this World Cup. So Mexico's group, you would expect Argentina to qualify. The second place will be, the fight will be between Mexico and Poland. And interestingly, a lot of football pundits have predicted that Poland would make it to the round of 16 ahead of Mexico, primarily because of Robert Lewandowski and especially because of his form. But Lewandowski is just one player, and Mexico has a lot of talented players. So I would expect Mexico to be able to finish second ahead of Poland if Argentina, as expected, finish first. So I would say Mexico has a good chance of going through to the next round ahead of Poland, despite Lewandowski's form. But we'll see. You never know. This could be the World Cup where Mexico finally fails to get into the round of 16. Then you have Costa Rica, which has Keylor Navas, who was a world-class goalkeeper. Whether he still is a question. Interestingly, in the playoff match against New Zealand, Keylor Navas looked very shaky. So it was the rest of the team that actually bailed out Costa Rica in that match. They have a fast attacker in Joel Campbell. In the midfield, you have Brian Ruiz, who is still playing at the age of 37. He had an impressive World Cup in 2014. In 2018, he was not able to repeat that. Whether he will be able to have an impact this time remains to be seen. But Costa Rica, again, you wouldn't expect them to go through. But Costa Rica always is a team which is capable of surprising a lot of people, because they have a lot of players who are not really that well known before the World Cup. So that is why they are always capable of causing surprises. When we talk about South America, the conversation is always going to be about Brazil and Argentina. And this time it's well merited, because both teams are in really good form. Brazil is the #1 team in the world right now. Argentina is ranked 3rd, but Argentina has been unbeaten for 35 matches, almost 3 years. And Brazil also, interestingly, in 3 years, Brazil has only lost to Argentina. But again, most of the teams that they play have been from the South American continent. So when it comes to playing European teams, especially in the World Cup, in recent editions we have seen both these teams getting tactically outplayed by European opposition. But this time it's expected to be different because of what the coaches have done with both Argentina and Brazil. So this could be a very exciting World Cup for fans of these two teams. You can of course read all about it in the week's latest issue, which is focusing on these two teams. It's out on stands now. Argentina is in Group C. You would not really expect Argentina to have too much trouble navigating that group. And Argentina has a very fluid team, a very strong group of players. You could argue that Messi is, probably the only world-class player in the Argentina squad, but the rest of the squad is all performing at a very high level, especially for the national team. But the recent injury to Giovanni Lo Celso is going to be a problem because he was a very key player for the national team, even though he has not had a great club career in Europe, but he has been key for the national team. So he has not been named in the national squad because of an injury. So he's going to be a big miss, but I think Argentina definitely have enough enough depth in attack and midfield to make up for the missing Lo Celso. In the past, Argentina has suffered because of a lack of depth in defense. We all remember the fantastic performances that Javier Mascherano put in the 2014 World Cup, and there was never really much depth to cover in those positions. So this time they have Christian Romero, Lisandro Martinez and Nicolas Otamendi. On form, Lisandro Martinez should definitely be starting, but Argentina, it is expected that they will go with Otamendi and Romero as a starting combination. But they are very, I think arguably Martinez is the best centre back in the squad on form. Brazil's group is tricky, even though it may look slightly easier on paper because you have Serbia and Switzerland, which could both be considered dark horses, but we'll cover them later. So the Brazil team, obviously Neymar is a star and he will be playing in a freer role this time. Other players are all, a lot of them are in really good form. You have Richarlison and Gabriel Jesus, who is in fantastic form at club level, and Richarlison, who is in good form for the national team. So there will be competition for the striker position, even though Jesus is in such great form. On the left wing, you have Vinicius Junior, but Tite has sometimes started Lucas Paqueta, who again has been good for West Ham at club level, but has not been outstanding. But for Brazil, he has been vital. You have all these players who are not really outstanding for their clubs, but they have been brilliant for the national team. Prime example being Fred, who is not even starting for Manchester United, and United apparently want to sell him, but he is a trusted midfielder for Tite. Rafinha is expected to start on the right wing ahead of Antony and Rodrigo. So that's stiff competition, but Rafinha has been in good nick. It could be argued that Casemiro is Brazil's most important player because in the 2018 World Cup, the match in which Brazil was eliminated by Belgium, Casemiro was missing in that match. So I think if he is starting in midfield, in the holding midfield role, Brazil will be difficult to beat. Uruguay, of course, are always considered dark horses at the World Cup. This time they have a new manager in Diego Alonso, who took over from the legendary Oscar Tabarez. He has a good record so far in the few matches that he has been at the helm. Uruguay also has arguably the most informed midfielder in the world in Valverde. And strike force, you still have the veterans like Edinson Cavani and Luis Suarez, but now you also have the option of Darwin Núñez. And during the South American qualifiers, Ecuador surprised many teams by finishing 4th. The team managed to thrash Colombia 6-1, and there were many impressive performances. They are in Group A with Netherlands, Senegal and the hosts. So you would think that they are not going to qualify. The funny thing is that Qatar will be looking at Ecuador as the best chance of getting a point, and Ecuador would also be smart to target the Qatar game, which is the opening game, to get 3 points, which will allow them to challenge Senegal also, because you would expect Netherlands to be able to qualify. So Ecuador has technically sound players. So that brings us to the end of part 1 of our preview of the Qatar World Cup. We have covered 4 out of the 5 continents which are being represented. So you know what's coming next, the big guns from Europe. See you next time.